There's an Italian brand leading the MotoGP, and it's not Ducati. Bezzecchi wins 5 in a row, leading from the front 121 laps. Martin, P2. Shots fired as Aprilia goes 1-2. That's a statement. Marco Bezzecchi isn't just winning, he's controlling MotoGP from the front. And KTM, Acosta has arrived. Ducati, suddenly on the outside looking in. Marc, serving penalties. Pecca, swallowed up in a pack. The balance of power has shifted. This is the angle. Good morning, Don.
Well done.
How are we going?
Like your intro, well done. Very like,
thank you.
Very severe, very kind of intense. Look at me. I'm never gonna not mock you for those.
That's all right. It is quite severe. Hey Don, we're sitting at 928 subscribers as we hit record today, and we need 72 more people who value engineering over gossip to join the crew. If that's you, hit that button now.
Come on, people, subscribe. Just do it. It's not difficult. I managed to do it, and if I could do it, you could do it too.
That's the one. What an interesting weekend.
It's again what we said at the beginning of this year is what we really want from MotoGP, over and above everything else, is for it to be interesting, for it to be entertaining, for it to be unpredictable. It loses its kind of magic when it starts becoming predictable, when you kind of know what's going to happen every single race. And we up until now, we don't really know what was going to happen, and a lot of stuff happened that you just really didn't expect. And it's brilliant. It's really brilliant.
It is. It's been really interesting seeing the shift of power. Last year, we had Marc absolutely leading from the front. If you think back from last year, Alex was actually leading the World Championships here for a while, and then Marc came past. But it was the two Marquez brothers. This year has been the absolute opposite. From the start, the last 2 races of the season there, Bez has obviously taken over. He won those 2, and now he's won 3 on a trot. I don't think he's going to be stopped that easy.
He has not only won all 3 races this season, he has led every single lap so far, and races before that. He broke
121.
So previously Jorge Lorenzo held the record for the most consecutive laps led, what is 103. Bezzecchi started this race on 101, and he led he started from 5th on the grid. We'll talk about that later. He got a grid penalty, but he managed to get to the front on the first lap. And I remember even the commentators were like, well, we don't think Bezzecchi's going to manage it this time. No, he's not going to, you know. And, wow, lightning start, off to the front in no time. And, he led every single lap again. Every single lap when he crossed the finish line, he was in front. He's now on 100. He broke the record from 103. It's now on 121 and counting. It's kind of a dominance that we really have not seen in some time. It's fascinating. It's both impressive and fascinating at the same time, which makes it even better.
We're seeing the development behind the scenes there from Aprilia. Jorge obviously came through on Saturday and won that sprint as I predicted. We had that amazing qualifying by Ogura, and I had a quick head count just before we started recording. There was 4 Aprilias in the top 10. We've got 3 Ducatis, and then the lone KTM in the top 10. So Aprilia in the top 10 right now is leading the charge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was completely unexpected, wasn't it? It's just, those things are just so on key at the moment. My favorite is when you watch an Aprilia draft past the Ducati, and you sort of go, "Wow, hang on, what's going on here?" You know, it's as I said, we want unpredictable. Unfortunately, though, it's starting to become unpredictable now, because we said going into COTA, I mean, COTA is going to be the testing, the true testing ground for Ducati, and they didn't come through. Again, Marc Márquez, from the king of COTA, Sheesh. Okay, he's not. Something's not well there. Something's not right. He's just not. I don't. There's sort of there's a tell. You sort of. I've always said you can kind of, when you watch a rider ride, you can kind of tell what's going on. There's a kind of a body language a rider has when they ride. I remember I first sort of started seeing this during the Rossi era. When Rossi and Biaggi would kind of ride together, then they'd get down to like 3 laps to go. Rossi would get to the front, and you just see a kind of a change in him, and in the sort of demeanor of his body. Not just how much he's hanging up, but just the way he sort of sits and sort of the purposefulness of his movements and the sort of intensity of the movements and that. And it just gives you kind of this vibe of like, okay, now he's on it. And then you kind of know that whether it was Biaggi, Giovinazzi, whoever it was, they're in trouble now. They're in trouble now. He's on it. And it's not just him trying hard. It means he is now fast. It's trying hard while confident. It's a change in demeanor.
Yeah.
And watching Marquez now through this race, you didn't quite see that. I mean, I will give him some credit. I mean, at the last bit of the race, he was the fastest lap rider on the circuit at the end of the race. But I mean, by then the top sort of 4 were had already kind of accepted their fate and were sort of backing off then, you know what I mean? They were just kind of riding to the finish. So I don't know how fair that is, but he was the quickest at the end of the race. And but still, you kind of, when you see him riding, he doesn't have that sort of confidence in his kind of body posture that he had previously. I mean, previously he'd be sitting at COTA, he'd catch up to the rider in front, and you can just see behind him, you just see his whole demeanor and the way he kind of the way he kind of moves and the way he kind of acts on the bike, that he's got this. You could just see he's like, I've got this. This is all sorted, and he hasn't had that. He really has not had that pretty much this whole season so far.
And there's a lot of people that's upset because Marc got penalised for barging Digi over track there. The truth is, it's not even the first time this season he's done it. If we think back to the opening rounds there in Thailand, he had that desperate move where he forced Pedro Acosta off the track. Nobody expected Pedro to be doing that well. And there was contact, and he got penalised for it. And there we go, he does it again. He barges DG right over track, and he gets penalised for it. And in my opinion, that is out of pure desperation. Marc is realising he doesn't have a bike that's going to outrun these guys, and then he tries to make something where there isn't something, and it's a pure desperation move.
Marquez doesn't do himself any favours. He does get desperate, and he sort of kind of common sense seems to leave his mind, because we saw, like, and this is all coming to the sprint race now. First of all, okay, there was we're going to now talk about transgressions. We had Bezzecchi and it was Bezzecchi and Marini that held up Marquez was it qualifying? No, it was the FP. It was the practice Friday afternoon practice session where they're all gunning for Q2, and they were kind of breezing on the racing line. And okay, fair enough. And then Marquez held up Bastianini. Okay, but now then the sort of comeback was, well, but he left enough room. But no, he left enough room. No. Yeah. Okay, here's the thing, right? He left about 1.5 meters of room, which is not enough. It's not enough. If you're staying out of the way, stay right out of the way. And people are going, yeah, but he's only 1.5 meters. That's enough room for a KTM to fit through. But think about it from Bastianini's point of view, right? He's going into this corner. Marquez is cruising. And at the point where he's got to make a decision about whether he's going to keep going or tap off, all he's seeing is Marquez peeling into the corner, going kind of towards the inside. And you at that point do not know how far to the inside he is going. And at the same time, he has to then get under the fairing. So he's going to lose sight of Marquez. So he's now going to make a decision, not when you discover that Marquez left enough room, before. You've got to make that decision about whether you're going to take a chance and go for it and hope Marquez doesn't. And he just said, well, no. He kind of just said, well, he clearly sat up. But I mean, this is just common decency, common sense. When you're cruising on the line, stay right out of the way. But again, my sort of objection to that is the fact that other riders get penalised. Marquez gets a warning. He effectively put a stop to another rider's fast lap, and but he left a bit of room. No, he didn't. Move right out of the way. A rider, sorry, I mean, if he was a rookie in Moto3, okay, fine. Hello, little man. I'm very, please don't do that. You must understand this is how it works. This dude is in his 30s. He's been racing for decades. He knows this. And I'm sorry, he should have gotten a penalty. Oh, sorry, that's my little rant out of the way.
That's very true, Don. The thing is, I don't think it is so much a Mark thing. He does get desperate, unfortunately. I mean, he does what I would call silly things, but that's because he's trying to push beyond what the bike probably is capable of. And a lot of people are saying today on the internet everywhere, people are accusing Ducati of having an issue and that the 24 bike is faster. Just to put this in perspective, I went and I had a look at last year's times, and last year race pace, the fastest lap was set up by Pedro Acosta actually, and it was matched exactly by Marco Bezzecchi this weekend. However, during the post-race interviews, Bezzecchi did say that it was really windy today, and as you mentioned on Saturday already, the track was really bumpy. The surface has been roughed up quite a bit by the cars, so the track isn't quite as fast as it was last year in race pace. So I do think that Ducati is possibly... It's obviously we're not going to give him a slow bike. The bikes are faster, but I think the race conditions just wasn't there, and that also explains the whole contact on lap 1 with Bez going past Pedro Acosta there on the inside. Bez says he had a clean line. It looked like he had a clean line, and obviously Pedro Acosta didn't see him coming through, and there was a slight contact there. But it was a race incident. It wasn't a unlegal overtake accident there. And I believe it was a good pass, and Pedro Acosta said he had no issue with that.
Yeah, you're right. It's very difficult. It is, because you're coming out of that corner going onto the back straight. It's a very tight first gear corner. Then you're accelerating like hell, and these bikes, I don't think we know acceleration to this extent, if you know what I mean, the way they pull out of corners. And
absolutely.
You accelerate like hell. It's all the weights on the back wheel. The front is kind of hovering just sort of slightly in the air. You're on the bike. You're being thrust backwards like hell. The ride-out device is now slammed on the floor. You've essentially got a drag race bike at the moment. The wind is hitting you, and you're trying to figure out where Acosta's going, and it was sort of quite close, and you're trying to get this bike together, and it's sort of... And Simon Crayford knows that, so he'll kind of look at it and go, okay, yeah, it's just one of those things where everybody was a little bit out of shape. Pedro Acosta was wide, and he was struggling to get his bike back. Bezzecchi was a little bit wide also, and he was struggling to get his bike back, and the two of them struggling together, and it sort of bumped. It would have been tricky, and as you say, the wind is blowing, and it would have been tricky to try and get the bike sort of into the right spot. It was just a situation they were both kind of found themselves stuck in. And it didn't result in anything bad. I mean, I know sort of intent is one thing, but the results are another. You know what I mean? Bezzecchi actually ended up far worse off. He lost a piece of bodywork. Acosta's bike still looked okay. Yeah. I thought he would have lost some wings and things, but it looks like it was all black stuff rolling on the floor, no orange stuff. So I think given that, I mean, Bezzecchi, and you got to think about this, Bezzecchi did the whole race with just slightly less bodywork, than he had before, which is, I mean, I don't know how much those little fins on the back of his motorcycle do, but he didn't have them. So, yeah, that probably made a slight difference also. So it sort of makes Bezzecchi's accomplishments a little bit more. But, that one was a sort of a different scenario. The Marquez one, as you say, desperate guy. And here's the sad thing: if it were him dive bombing an Aprilia, we could have said, "Oosh," but it was a better bike. He had no other option. He had to do it. But he was going up the inside of another Ducati, so it's not like he was on a superior bike. It's just, I think Marquez needs to sit down and kind of think about that. He probably has already, but I hope he kind of takes this a bit seriously now. It was quite funny. You kind of watch. Sorry, I'm going to sort of go. I'm going to carry on about Marquez. His biggest problem now, Marquez has, beginning of the race, he is slow, and we saw that before he did his long lap penalty. He was losing places, and I was watching the live timing, and yeah, his times were not good. As he got to about half race distance, he starts speeding up, and as I say, he and Bastianini were the two fastest riders on the grid at the last sort of 4 or 5 laps. They were the fastest riders. Although again, the top 3 or 4, I think, had kind of already resigned to their positions, and they were sitting up and relaxing a bit. So I don't know what would happen if they were put under more pressure. But yeah, Bastianini and Marquez were the fastest too. And how was Bastianini? Holy cow!
Absolutely, and in the post-race there, I was listening to Pedro Acosta, and he did say he was quite happy that Bagnaia Bastianini was coming through the pack there all weekend, and he's glad that the overall setup of the KTMs are working. And looking at those bikes, this season, it's not like the Ducatis are just running away from everything. It seems like all the bikes on the grid are actually very, very equal, taking all into account. Just one little note also, I don't know if you noticed, Donovan, that Ducati actually copied the Aprilia's little wings on the back this weekend on Marc's bike. I don't know, did you pick up on that?
I didn't actually. That's an interesting thought, yeah. Not on Bezzecchi's bike because his broke off, but that's kind of interesting. What I will say, no one expected, when Marquez got past Bagnaia Bastianini, he was sort of going through the field, and it was like, okay, and he had Bagnaia next, and then all of a sudden Bastianini retook Marquez. I was like, wait, what? And then you're like, okay, obviously, it's a bit of a blip, and then Marquez got back past, and then Bastianini took Marquez again.
Came back.
I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What is going on here? And even when they got past Bagnaia, I mean, there was still a bit of a tussle. And Bastianini was still... Okay, Marquez eventually won that duel, but Bastianini was right behind him, going over the line. Which leads me on to an interesting thing. I mean, the KTMs look pretty good this weekend. I mean, compared to Brazil, where they were just all horrible. They look bloody good this weekend. Pedro Acosta, obviously, on the podium, finishing third. Bastianini giving Marc Márquez a hard time. And then, unfortunately, there's Brad Binder, our proudly South African guy, who's just the odd one. I mean, previously we all said, look, the KTM's not great, and Pedro Acosta's making it look good, and blah blah blah. Unfortunately for this round, there were two KTM's doing rather well, and Brad Binder not so much. What I will say about Binder is he's never done well at COTA. He's always gone badly at COTA. He's never been, even when he was in Moto2 and all of that, it's never been one of his strong races. Never, ever, ever. And I know he just said that, look, this weekend they never found a good setup, they never found a good rhythm, they never found any of that. And okay. It is his worst. I think this is his worst track of the year every year. So let's kind of, just for his sake, let's just kind of hope that this is sort of a one-off. And Jerez, he's always been pretty good at. So let's see how he does there. I think Jerez will be a better test on where Binder is at the moment. But yeah, as you say, overall, the 2 of the 3 KTMs did rather well. So it was a good race for KTM.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Brad actually has a good record on the European circuits. Obviously, he cut his teeth there with the Red Bull rookies in Europe, in Spain, and he's built his career around those tracks. So when Brad has good track knowledge, he does go quite well. Someone I was really impressed with, and unfortunately heartbreak for me, I have been pinning this guy to get a podium, was Ogura, and he made a storm through the field there. And then unfortunately his bike, it seemed like he ran into gearbox problems or something there, and he had to retire, and that was a very sad moment.
It is possible it was gearbox problems. It sounded like he would hit the rev limiter and then can't change gear. That's what, either that or he wasn't hitting the rev limiter and something was seriously wrong. It's possible either he was hitting the limiter, couldn't change gear, or the bike had picked up some kind of a misfire. But oh man, how disappointing for him. And he was going through the field, and some of those overtakes he made, they were just, they were just so clinical. You know what I mean? They were very, very clean, very, very clinical, very surgical
Very much.
even. And it was just amazing to watch. I know you're an Ogura fan, and fair dues to you. He's the dude is looking really, really good. It was heartbreaking. There was apparently a scene afterwards where Bezzecchi actually came past Ogura and he just shook his hand and said, "You're riding so well, man. You're riding so well." And he's completely true. Which leads us kind of on to Ralph Fernandez, who's you've got all the Aprilias doing rather well. How heartbreaking is it when you're sitting there out of the top 10 and all the other three bikes are gunning for the lead? It's I wonder what's going on there.
He's still sitting in the points quite well and quite comfortable. For the race, who would you pin rider for the race in your opinion?
Look, I think Bezzecchi. Well, okay, obviously Bezzecchi. He was the winner, and what I found so fascinating about his race is the sort of command he has. In the lead, he was sort of riding. For most of it, he was just over a second ahead of Martin. And I was watching his lap times, and I mean, they would actually slow down quite a bit. He would ride a kind of a slower pace for quite a lot of it. But he would come past and look at his pit board every single lap. And as soon as, at the end, I think it was about 3 laps to go, Martin put in a bit of a push, and he got down to, I think, 0.8 of a second. And I remember thinking, oof, is this going to be like a repeat of Bagnaia in the sprint race where Martin caught up to Bagnaia right on the last lap? And I thought, oof, that's going to be heartbreak for Bezzecchi, I mean, if he does that. And immediately, as soon as they crossed the finish line, the line with, I think it was 2 laps to go, and Bezzecchi saw 0.8. The next sector for Bezzecchi was red. And the one after that was red. And the one after, and suddenly you saw the gap go 0.8, 1 second, 1.2 second, and it's like he came past. He said, "Oh, he's catching me now. Okay, I suppose I better hurry up a little bit." And he just suddenly pulled like almost half a second on Martin, which just tells you. I mean, and this is clever because, as I said, COTA's a very abrasive circuit on the tires. You can't push like hell. It just means he got out front and he was sort of cruising, maintaining his pace. And the moment he had to push hard, he pushed hard and he broke Martin. Martin then just said, "Okay," he kind of said, "All right, that's it. Nothing I can do. Clearly, this dude is on another level," which that I find impressive. Then there's obviously there's Acosta again being the dominant KTM, but not as dominant, not as dominant as before. Bastianini, for Bastianini's pace, for what Bastianini normally does. I mean, most improved goes to Bastianini definitely. And then if we go further down the pack, more specifically Toprak. Remember the guy everyone was kind of mocking into this year, beginning of this year? Oh no, World Superbike riders can't come to MotoGP. MotoGP's another level. Toprak is good in World Superbikes, but he'll never cut it as a moto. Guess who finished top Yamaha? Guess who beat Fabio Quartararo, Jack Miller, and Alex Rins? Toprak Razgatlioglu. I do, however, suspect, and I still need this to be confirmed, I do think Fabio Quartararo had some problems at the end. Nonetheless, a World Superbike rookie in just his 3rd race, his first ever outing on this circuit, probably the most difficult circuit on the calendar to learn, and he beat all the other Yamahas. Now, for people saying, but he was in, where did he finish? Hang on, he was actually in the points. He scored his first point. He was 15th place.
2 points.
And for people to say, but he's 50s, remember that Yamaha is still a bit, it's by far the worst bike on the grid. They're trying to get that V4 together. And the only thing you can compare the Yamaha riders to are fellow Yamaha riders. Toprak was the top Yamaha. I mean, that very well maybe deserves a Rider of the Day award. That's just spectacular. I mean, so my kind of 3 picks for Rider of the Day would be obviously Bezzecchi, Bastianini, and Toprak. What about you? What did you'd say Ogura if he didn't break down? Which
I would say Ogura. I'm quite impressed. I mean, Raul came back. He finished 8th overall there in the race, just behind Alex. Enio Bastianini did amazingly well. I was really impressed with Fabio De Antonio. Fabio, I mean, he qualified at a blistering pace. And he maintained a good race for the weekend. And had he not been taken out in the sprint, I think, obviously he was a best to carry rider for a weekend. But I would pin the racer, for me, my personal, what do we call them, the VIP or best rider of the day would be Jorge Martin.
Jorge Martin. One thing that Martin did say is he was in a lot of pain at the end.
Yep.
And then I think, he did that last push, and then Bezzecchi pushed even harder, and I think he just kind of said, all right, this is not working.
Yep.
Sit back and relax. Now, one of the things I did say is this is for the injured riders like Martin and Marquez, who are not 100% fit, is that this is the most straining circuit on the calendar. It's a very, very physical one. And yet Marquez was still able to put his fastest laps, or at his fastest pace was right at the end of the race. So either he just managed the pain extremely well, or it didn't affect him as much. I don't know which one it is.
And we haven't spoken about Pecco Bagnaia, and I mean, there's a lot of rumors floating around today that he signed a 4-year contract with Aprilia. I don't know if that's confirmed. I've not been able to confirm that. But he did manage a 10th. He did look a little bit more comfortable throughout the weekend. In the sprint race, he was on a podium. But unfortunately, on the long race, he didn't seem as comfortable. And I'm not sure if it is the tyre situation that they ran into or exactly what's going on there.
Yeah, he just dropped at the last few laps. He just completely dropped. Obviously, his rear tyre shredded itself to pieces. Look, his overall pace this weekend was a lot better. I mean, throughout. He nearly won the sprint race. He did complain that at the end of the sprint race, he got this big vibration at the rear. When the tyre started wearing, the rear tyre, I mean, now normally it would start spinning and then you just sort of control it. But he said that he started getting this big vibration, a sort of a chatter at the back of the bike when his tyre wore. So it's possible he kind of got that, because he by far kind of lost out the most. I mean, everybody kind of went a bit slow at the end of the race, but his pace just dropped. His pace just bombed, went down the toilet. So I don't know. Maybe it's related to that, because it is possible. I mean, bikes with different setups and different methodologies they react different to different tire wear. And when your bike starts chattering on the rear, and I've had that before, I've seen it, when your tire starts wearing, your bike, instead of just sliding, it chatters. And it makes a bigger impact on the whole riding. So instead of dropping just a couple of tenths of a second, you drop half a second a lap, So maybe it's more to it than just simple tire wear. Maybe something else is going on that they need to kind of figure out. But he was, on the plus side, he was a lot more confident this race. He was a lot more kind of in the mix. And then something went down the toilet in the last sort of 5 laps or so. So, yeah, they just need to figure out that. But overall, Bagnaia definitely improved this race.
And bringing home the Ducati at 21 seconds behind Bez was Firmin Aldeguer. Obviously, he went into this race injured. He was complaining about pain all weekend. But I'm still impressed with Firmin Aldeguer. 2nd year in MotoGP now. He's got a lot of talent.
Well, you compare like with like. He's not on a current Ducati. He's on an, and we're not quite sure what it is. I don't know whether it's a full 2025 Ducati or a hybrid between 2025 and 2024. But they're not on the current bike, and the only ones not on current bikes are him and Morbidelli. And you look at it that way. I mean, I'm just looking at the results. Aldeguer was at 11th place, 21 seconds behind the leader. Morbidelli was in 14th place, 24 seconds behind the leader. So Aldeguer is 3 seconds ahead of Morbidelli, which is rather interesting. Yeah, I mean, Aldeguer did. I mean, when you put him up against like for like, I don't think that bike that they're riding is anything close to the new one. I think that new Ducati, the 2026, is clearly light years ahead. And just a little comeback to what you said earlier, you were talking about lap times and things like that. Look at the qualifying. I mean, last year Marquez was on pole at a 21 dead. This year they were 20.1, and Marquez, everybody went way quicker in qualifying. So clearly that bike has stepped up. Last year you could say the 2024 Ducati was the best one, so the older Ducati. Now, no, not a chance. That 2024 was good, but the bikes have all moved. And people forget this. They say, well, in 2024, 2025, the 2024 was the best. It was winning everything. So go back to that and then you'll win again. But the problem is the other bikes have all improved, especially those Aprilias. They really have gone forward. So now The 2024 is not the best, and I think that 2026 Ducati is clearly a step above. And again, one of Ducati's sort of aims was to build a bike that everybody can ride. And yeah, you look at the results. I mean, you got Digi is right up there. I mean, he's, as you say, he finished top Ducati. Although Marquez did get a long lap penalty, and incidentally, he lost 3 seconds in that penalty, and he finished. It was 1.2 seconds behind Digi and Antonio. But again, I don't know how much did G and Antonio sandbag towards the end of the race, because again, Acosta was far ahead of him. And when he started the last sort of 2 laps, Marquez was way behind. So I think he was kind of sandbagging at the end. So that's possibly not a true reflection. But still, I mean, De Gea and Antonio's do very, very well on that thing. Bagnaia's very, very well if he can keep it together. And even Alex Marquez, although Alex Marquez was on the 24 Ducati last year, which we suspect was better than the 2025, he's not performing as well as he did last year. But still, he's 7th, so he's not exactly like miles behind. So the 2026 Ducati is looking rather good. And Bagnaia, he's clearly a lot better than last year. I mean, I remember last year he was at the back of the field. Given without tyre wear issues, he's a top 5 rider now. So, yeah, clearly that Ducati's looking good. And a pity about the Aprilia, hey?
The Ducatis are looking strong, but like you say, everybody else is caught up. And talking about that, Jean Mir all weekend was looking strong. Unfortunately, he dumped that Honda, I think, on about lap 5 from memory. Johan Zarco, I think 2 laps from the end, about lap 18, he managed to dump his bike. But those Hondas seem to have good pace. They have been working hard in the background there. Diego Moreira, from memory, he came in about 13th. And then there was one more Honda, Luca Marini. I think he came in about 9th, was that?
Yeah, no, Marini was 9th. Diego Moreira finished 13th. Jean Mir, okay.
Yep.
He has now crashed 5 races in a row. 5 races in a row crashed out. That's not good for your career prospects, if you know what I mean. Because, you know, he's riding well, he's up there, but now after every single race, the team has to pick up their bike, pick up the bucket that used to be their bike and put it all together. And I mean, I know their projects are big and it's a lot of money, but it costs a lot of money to repair those things, you know what I mean? And now you're sitting there with a rider who's doing well, I mean, not brilliantly brilliant, but doing well, but he can't finish a race. And it's now costing them money. They're not getting any results, and it's costing them more money. And they don't. I mean, I think they would rather see a rider finish 7th than not finish at all, then run 5th for a little while and then crash. You know what I mean? It's Mir has to figure this out. He can't keep crashing like this. There were rumors that Martin has taken a Honda ride, and now then the question is. I mean, previously I would have said he would definitely take Marini's ride. With Mir kind of mostly outperforming him. Now I'm not so sure. I mean, technically although Mir has a faster pace, Marini's outperforming him because he's finishing the damn race. And I think Mir just has to sit back and think, okay, hang on a second, what's going wrong? Where am I going wrong? What is happening?
Nonetheless, Don, I think that is pretty much COTA in a nutshell. Looking forward into the season, I reckon Aprilia, obviously, they've got a good foundation there. In the post-race, Marco said that the man is so humble, isn't he? Bez is such a humble guy. He said that they're going to have a bit of a party tonight, and then tomorrow they are going back to testing. And there's a lot of work before Europe. And I do think Aprilia is really, their intention is to win this year. And I think heading into Europe, we're going to see Aprilia bring some good results. I do think Honda's probably got a little bit of potential in the bag there. They can just keep those bikes upright. And then the big question mark this season hangs over Ducati's head, doesn't it?
We said the true test of Ducati's pace and Marquez and Ducati and all of that would be COTA. We said Thailand had all the testing and all that done there, and they all had the right setup and that, so that's a bit odd. Brazil was a bit of a mess because of all the weather and that, but COTA, everybody knows COTA. It's it's Marc's favorite track, and if Ducati doesn't perform here, then Ducati didn't perform. I mean, I know Marquez had a long lap penalty, but I mean, if I take 3 seconds off his time, he still finished fourth, behind two Aprilias and a KTM. So yeah, Ducati is not the number one, not the top dog anymore. This is a race they really should have won it. But we're going to head through to Europe now. Something about Ducati is they are constantly evolving, and they got Delina behind the scenes. They got their team behind the scenes, and we saw it often with Pecco back in the day, that they kept developing, they kept moving, they kept evolving the whole time. And I think remember, I do suspect, if it's to be believed, Marquez is still not 100% together. He's still a bit. He's got his shoulder worries, and as I said, you can see by his demeanor, he hasn't got that sort of confidence in his sort of riding. He hasn't got that kind of mannerism about it, and it's still very possible that we're going to see that coming up later in the year. It's possible Ducati will find some new solutions, and it's possible Marquez will heal a bit more and find better setups and evolve. Right now, though, Bezzecchi just seems to be in another world. He's absolutely controlling the race like hell. And as I said, when Martin did that final push in the last 3 laps, and Bezzecchi, there's a very fun South African phrase, and you'll know this well, is when someone kind of pushes or does something or thinks, gives it a go, and you kind of go, there's 2 words you kind of say. You say, "Is it?" with a question mark afterwards. Is it? And Bezzecchi saw Martin close up to 0.8, and he said the Italian version of "is it?" and he just pushed and he cleared half a second, and it was so clearly Bezzecchi's on another level right now. But lots of racing to go. I'm terribly excited, and the most important thing is we have no idea what's going to happen at Jerez, and it's a month to go though. What are we going to do for a whole bloody month?
I was just about to start mentioning that, Don, and obviously this specific episode has just gone out after COTA. I mean, we will do a catch-up before we go to Europe in that week, but until then, we've got 2 episodes planned with some real interesting content with yourself and me from The Rider, one of our sister episode series here on Full Lean. And there might just be another episode or 2 dropping from the Racingline. Donovan, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. I've got to get going. You've got a full day ahead.
And enjoy the rest of Australia. Enjoy. For 4 weeks, I'm going to have to start counting the tiles on my roof or something like that. It's at least it's not 3 months, but still 4 weeks of no MotoGP. It's gonna suck, but I look forward to Jerez coming up. I'll be counting down the days, and as always, this is fun. Let's do it again.
Jerez is going to be a blast, Don, and I'm so excited for that. Guys, we had 928 subscribers. Hit that subscribers list, so when we do new shows, it will pop up and you will be notified. We're only 72 legends away from that 1,000. Help us out, smash that button, and until next time, keep your rubber side down.